Imagine discovering that everything you believed about yourself was an illusion, not because someone told you, but because your own actions exposed it. Peter believed he was fearless. He believed he would die before abandoning Jesus. Hours later, he couldn't even admit that he knew him. That collapse wasn't simply a moral failure. It was a collision between conviction and biology. To understand Peter, we have to understand fear. Real fear isn't an emotion, it's a survival program. When danger appears, the brain doesn't ask whether something is right. It asks one question: can I survive? The moment Jesus was arrested, Peter entered an environment unlike anything he had experienced before. The crowds had become hostile. The religious authorities wanted blood. Roman soldiers stood ready to crush any resistance. Every public association with Jesus suddenly became dangerous. Peter's nervous system detected something his conscious mind didn't want to accept. He might be next. Modern neuroscience tells us that under extreme threat, activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, can overwhelm the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for deliberate reasoning and moral judgment. When that happens, people don't always become cowards. They become survivors. Peter wasn't calmly choosing betrayal. His entire body was reorganizing around one instinct: stay alive. This is why trauma researchers often say that fear narrows consciousness. Your world becomes smaller, your vision shortens. Long-term values disappear behind immediate survival. The future vanishes. Only the next few seconds matter. Now imagine standing in the courtyard. The fire is burning. Faces are staring. Someone points directly at you. Weren't you with him? That question wasn't merely social. Peter's brain interpreted it as a possible death sentence. His answer came before his values could catch up. I don't know him. 3 words. One shattered identity. Then another accusation. Another denial. Again. Each lie became easier because every previous lie demanded another. Fear has momentum. The greatest danger wasn't the first denial, it was the second, then the third, because repeated compromise begins rewriting who we believe ourselves to be. And then, a rooster crowed. According to the gospel accounts, Jesus turned and looked at Peter. No recorded speech, no condemnation, just a look. That moment is psychologically devastating. Peter suddenly saw himself through truth, not the courageous disciple he imagined, but the frightened man he actually became. The collapse of self-image is one of the most painful experiences a human being can endure. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. 2 incompatible realities collide. I am loyal, I betrayed him. The mind cannot comfortably hold both. Something must change. Some people deny reality. Others rewrite history. Peter did something much harder. He wept. Those tears were not weakness. They were the death of illusion. Shame has 2 possible destinations. One destroys identity, the other transforms it. Judas experienced shame and ran from it. Peter experienced shame and walked through it. There is a profound difference. Healthy shame says, I did something terrible. Toxic shame whispers, I am something terrible. Peter eventually rejected the second voice. That decision changed history. Weeks later, after the resurrection, Jesus didn't begin with condemnation. He began with breakfast. Then came one unforgettable question. Do you love me? 3 times. Not because Jesus needed the answer. Peter did. Each answer became the reconstruction of a fractured identity. Each confession replaced a denial. Each declaration healed what fear had broken. Integrity isn't the absence of failure. Integrity is becoming the same person after failure that you hoped to be before it. Peter's greatest qualification for leadership wasn't that he never fell. It was that he understood exactly what failure felt like. People who have never failed often become harsh judges. People who have been rebuilt become compassionate guides. Perhaps that is why Peter later wrote, "Be alert and of sober mind." He knew how quickly fear could capture the human heart. His wisdom wasn't theoretical, it was earned. Every human being carries a courtyard inside them, moments where fear asks, who will you become now? Sometimes we answer well,
Sometimes we don't. But Peter reminds us that failure does not have the final word, because the opposite of fear isn't courage. The opposite of fear is love. Love large enough to restore what fear tried to destroy. And perhaps that is why Peter's greatest legacy wasn't that he denied Jesus. It was that after facing the truth about himself, he became someone who never ran again.